Football Manager is an awesome game, but it has a weird side effect that sometimes you can really want to play it, but not have a game that you're just ready to jump into. Before you know it, it's been a few years before you've been able to sink your teeth into Football Manager because while you love the game, you just can't get into it. Allow me to introduce the cure, some insane save ideas that might just shake you out of your Football Manager malaise. We start with, behind door number 1, the Administration Takeover. This is a save designed for people who don't like playing Football Manager when they haven't had full control over who is on their team already. Symptoms of this love of Football Manager include hating the first year of a save because you're stuck with a bunch of players you don't like, being upset with these long contracts, or not having the freedom to wheel and deal to bring in the right player. Well, if you use the in-game editor, which of course you have to buy, but it'll appear kind of up here in the top right. If you don't have the in-game editor, there's something called the pre-game editor that comes with every PC version of the game that is purchased. If you're on Steam, you just add tools, and then all of a sudden the Football Manager 2024 editor is there. Takes a bit to get used to how to make it work, but it's pretty easy overall. You just go in and remove every single player from your team. Terminate contract. See you later, Buster! I have now yeeted my starting goalkeeper into the sun, but I have also freed up about 20 million in wage. You go through and do this for all the players on your team, and all of a sudden you have a completely empty roster, and because of the way the editors and stuff work, you didn't take any giant financial penalties from this. Now, if you want to make life a little bit easier, you can add yourself a bit of a transfer budget back, just turn that knob, and all of a sudden you're at $500 million in the transfer budget, which for a big Premier League team, that's honestly not a ton to be able to build out a whole new team. But whatever sort of lore you want to put behind it into how your club ended up in this situation, in this administration, whether they have a lot of money or literally no money at all, if you want a huge squad building challenge, this is a great way for you to get complete control over your team immediately at the start of a save and not have to wait 3 or 4 years for a save to get good for you. The second option is one called Christmas. If you don't have a lot of time to play Football Manager, or you only like playing the first couple of years of a save anyways because once the players get all fake, you just don't really like the feel of it anymore, then this save is probably for you. There's a lot of versions of it out there, but I think this is the simplest one that can give you a really fun day or weekend of playing FM if you find yourself with a little free time, but not a lot. You just load up a new save, you title it Christmas or whatever you want to title it, and you pretend that you're a former washed-up professional international player. And then you just go on vacation. You go on vacation until Christmas, and you just let it sim. Given that for this particular save, you're not going to need a very big database, just whatever league you're going to want to play in, and then a couple of other big leagues around there, the simulation should be pretty quick. Then once you get to Christmas, you just search up whatever league you decided you wanted to manage in, and you made playable, so how about the Premier League, and you go to the worst team in that league, and since their coach has probably already been fired or about to be fired anyways, you just go ahead and take over as the head coach. You can do that by clicking up here. This will say FM. If you're using the Zealand skin, there'll be a Z up there, and you just do add new head coach, and you can quite literally just pick the team that you want to manage. So Nottingham Forest and last, here we go. Then you just play out the rest of the season. This gives you an opportunity to make transfers in win now mode, make basically all of your decisions in win now mode, and have a goal, something that you can achieve realistically over the course of maybe the next 6 months, and over a weekend or maybe just a really long day, you can play FM and scratch the itch without having to start a save that's going to take over your whole life. The next one is called the Hypothetical. This is for people that love Football Manager for the alternate history aspects, trying to take certain players or clubs to achieve something that they haven't achieved either ever or in a long time, or maybe they should have. And the core of the hypothetical is using either the pre-game editor or the in-game editor to move a particular player to a team that you feel like they should have been on. I'm talking hypothetical transfers, like the Erling Haaland move to Real Madrid. Or perhaps you believe Erling Haaland should have stayed at Borussia Dortmund. Maybe Jude Bellingham should have stayed at Borussia Dortmund. Maybe you want to make all of those former Borussia Dortmund players be back on Borussia Dortmund to see if they're actually the best team in the world. Maybe you're just a giant Dortmund fan and I'm describing your fantasy. All you have to do is find the player, and with the in-game editor, you just click move to my club. In the pre-game editor, it's a little more complex, but again, I believe in you. You can figure it out, and I'm certainly not the person to make a pre-game editor guide. There are great ones around, though. I'll try and find one for the description. Lewandowski, come back too. Dortmund would be the best team in the world if they had all their former players, wouldn't they? And if they were the best in the world, they'd be the same as NordVPN, the longtime sponsor of this channel, which if you're not using it by now, honestly, you're just kind of missing out. There's a link on the screen if you don't need any convincing at all. It comes with a great deal, 4 extra months just tacked on, 30-day money-back guarantee. It's the top of the description as well. I use NordVPN NordVPN all the time, so I'll tell you about it. The reason you hear about NordVPN so much is because so many people use it to keep themselves safe on the internet. Very simply, it allows you to route your traffic on the internet through another encrypted point to keep you way safer. This is really useful for me. I travel all the time, I'm in hotels all the time, and hotel Wi-Fi is pretty unprotected. So I'll flick NordVPN on, route my traffic through it if I need to do, say, banking on the go or whatever, and it keeps that internet traffic safe even though the Wi-Fi that I'm on is unreliable. It's so easy to use that this isn't some pre-recorded footage that you're watching as part of this ad. This is actually just me clicking around on my desktop. It opens up, you just click a different location, and that's it. My internet traffic is now connected through that location. I am running my traffic through Endora. Say I don't want it to go anymore, I just pause it for an hour, I can turn it off, and it's gone again. It's just so unbelievably easy to use. And here's the link again. There's a great deal that they're offering right now, and if you ever wanted to give it a try, the 30-day money-back guarantee means that if for whatever reason NordVPN is not what you were hoping it was, it's absolutely no cost to you at all. And thank you to them for sponsoring this channel. Because a lot of that travel we're able to do for different videos and content is because of NordVPN. Now for the next save, the Bilbao. And it's not as simple as you think, all right? Everybody's talking about these Youth Academy saves where you literally can't sign anyone, you just develop players up from your youth academy, but I almost wanted to call this the expanded Bilbao because there are options here. If you are like me and every time you enter into a save, you're prowling around in Argentina and Brazil and like Denmark for the same old wonder kids from the same old places, you can create a restrictive circle that allows you to have to, or forces you to have to recruit in a different way. If Football Manager becomes boring to you because the same old signing wonder kids grind feels exactly the same, what if you could only sign players from London or players from England? What if you're PSG but you can only develop players from inside France? Or what if you're in South Korea but you can only sign players from Asia, so no expat Brazilians? You can expand this out to continents or even half the world, or just literally limit yourself from signing players from Brazil and Argentina. That would be the most expanded version of the Bilbao, but you need to create a recruitment circle that forces you to play the game differently. You can obviously, if it helps, come up with some sort of lore behind this, like, we are going to bring the French League back to prominence, or whatever you feel like you need. You also just focus a little bit more on team development and less on, let me just buy the newer, shinier thing. Next up, we have a personal favorite of mine, the single tactic save. This one goes out to my brother and everybody else that starts a save and immediately plugs in the exact same formation that they always play with, no exceptions, because the game could also get boring because a part of the game that is so challenging for a lot of other people, you have simplified down into a point that you don't really need to make any changes. If you want to bring that spice of life back, start a save where you were forced to use a different tactic. Now, same thing, you don't have to worry about making tactical tweaks, but you do have to worry about building a team and coming up with roles that fit in a completely new system. For example, a lot of people have never seriously used a 4-4-2 before, which, beside that being an absolute crying shame, you can just start a save and say, I have to play a 4-4-2 the entire time. Now I have to focus on building a team for that. Or maybe a 5 at the back tactic is something you've just never gone for with wingbacks and 3 center backs. Well, set that up like you're Antonio Conte at the beginning, and then just don't touch it. That's the tactic you're building for now. It'll add a ton of spice to your life and finally get you out of your one tactic comfort zone. And you don't have to worry about the pressure to go back to your old tactic because the whole point of the save in the first place is being able to succeed in the other tactic. You're locked. You don't have to worry about going back to your comfort zone because it doesn't exist or the whole save is ruined. But that's getting people out of their shell. This next save, it's all about creating realism, almost. I call this save No Attributes. This is the one you've probably most likely heard of before if you're really into Football Manager, but there are skins available out there that will block the attributes. You cannot see them. There's so many different versions of this. You can just go down a rabbit hole. Honestly, I kind of just did right now of looking at the different types of attributeless skins. Some really emphasize the analytical data and present you with the expected assists and expected goals and all those sorts of things for you to be able to make educated decisions. Some literally just turn the attributes into a bar, so you're not having to calculate numbers anymore. You can just visually see what they're good at and what they're not. But as is really well described by this one that I found in the SI forums, you are now untethered from obsessing over the difference between 13 and 14. Musterman Iconic, which is the name of this particular skin, puts priority on practical performance. There's also the Statman skin, which is the one with the bars. Those are the two that I found that I feel like I'd want to play with the most, but this gets rid of the numbers entirely and makes Football Manager harder. You are relying on the scouting report and a much rougher idea of what the player is actually good at. If you are one of those people that thinks Football Manager is too easy, this is the save for you, because playing with the no attribute skin, whatever version you decide to use, is going to challenge your brain in the way that it's not been challenged for a long time. The next save, though, is kind of the complete opposite. I'll call this one the Scouting Savant. This is a simple idea taken to a logical extreme. When you start the save, there is an option to remove the masking of attributes. You'll need to click it. And once you're in that game, all you have to do is go to the player search, and then you can quite literally sort by any attribute, and you have, 46,000 players in the database I loaded up. You can see how good every one of them are. That's not the point of the save, though, because the lore behind it is you are a savant of a scout. You're a genius. You are brilliant at scouting specifically. That's what the whole save is about. So you can see the attributes of everybody in the world, no matter where. So on every youth intake day, on a filter between aged 15 and 16-year-olds, you sort them all, and you find the best ones. You love scouting, and this sort of save will allow you to scout with the attributes available of every great young player in the world. The next Messi, the next Ronaldo, the next Haaland, the next Mbappe, they're all out there, and you can find them, because you know everybody in the world's attributes. So once those youth intakes hit, search. But you can spend your whole day looking for gems, diamonds in the rough to build your super team. The next save is about knowledge too, but it kind of is the reverse. It's called Knowledge is Power. You see, there's a little known option on the start screen that actually allows you to use entirely fake players and staff. It creates a completely different universe. I mean, same clubs are good, same clubs are bad, but right at the start of the save in 2023, if I go to, let's just say, Arsenal, the best player on Arsenal is some random ball-winning midfielder named Matt Thomas. At least that's how I thought it worked until I actually started doing this myself, and you realize that all of the players are just renamed in like the exact same player they were before. Like this is Declan Rice, this is Odegaard. So fortunately, there's another way for you to do this type of save. It just isn't as easy as before. You start the save with just one league loaded. You got it? Just one league loaded. Make it a league like Indonesia, but you're gonna have to simulate 40 years. So make sure the database is nice and small to start with. Not the database in the top right, that could be whatever, but one league. Once you're in, add and remove leagues. You can add whatever leagues you want to play in, and it'll be forced to generate random players to be in those leagues. Based off my understanding of how that's worked in the past, it'll give you a really authentic experience of being in a completely disorienting environment. The last surefire trick is to just create a save and then simulate forward like 25 years, and then all of a sudden there's an entirely new ecosystem of players. But the point of this save is to shake people out of repeating the same save over and over again. You start with a big club and you always sign the same players, and you play 2 or 3 years, and then you lose interest. You're just repeating the same life cycle no matter where you are. But if you have no idea who any of the players around you are, that makes you turn your brain off. Sure, there are legends, there are wonder kids and everything in between, like James Milner, but you don't know who they are off the top of your head. You're living in an alternate universe. The next one isn't an alternate universe, it's a different job. This is the director of football. The idea behind this save is to keep you from doing the actual job of the manager, and it is a save designed for people who love team building but just don't really like the tactics part that much. You can do this with the Zealand skin or any other skin that allows you to simulate a match without having to play it. This saves you from having to vacation through every match, which can be annoying and time consuming. But essentially, you start the save, then you select a preset tactic, maybe a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1, you set it up, and you never touch it. You go about the process of completing transfers and scouting and negotiating contracts like a director of football would do in real life, but you pass off all the media responsibilities to your team as well. And then once you get to match days, no matter how small or how important, you simulate the match. Every single one. You never touch the tactic, you never make any in-match decisions. You are the director of football. So if you really just love team building in Football Manager, this is the save for you. You still have to deal with contracts and personnel meetings, but I mean, directors of football kind of have to do that in real life too. This isn't Chief Scout Simulator. If they ever make that, I'll let you know. The final save that can get you back into Football Manager is maybe my favorite. I've always wanted to do it. It's called One Day at a time. The whole idea behind this save is that it is now possible for the first time ever because we have cross Football Manager integration. You see, winter seasons start in August or maybe even late July or early September, but that is before the next Football Manager comes out. So you can never play a save on the most up-to-date version of Football Manager, at least before this year, with knowledge that this is going to be a part of the game, where you start the save, advancing along with the season. One day in real life is one day in the game. And then once you get to where the new Football Manager comes out, you buy the new Football Manager, you transfer your save over, and you continue playing one day at a time throughout the entire season. This is a particularly great save for people that don't have a lot of time to play Football Manager but like to obsess over it regardless, because advancing one day at a time gives you a long time to consider decisions but doesn't take up hours of your day getting obsessed with continuously simulating 3 months at a time. It means transfer negotiations that take weeks in the game can take weeks in real life, and you'll be agonizing over whether that player is going to say yes or not, or what offer they're going to accept, or whether you're going to get a good offer for a player. And when you get to actual match days, you can do whatever you want, but my recommendation would be play it on full match. Yeah, it'll take 45 to 60 minutes, but you got 45 to 60 minutes to relax on a weekend, hopefully, and that is your big Football Manager time. Also, it's just really cool. You get to play along with the season and see how it compares to what's happening in real life the whole year. I actually might legitimately do this save this year. Once you hit that next day, you just save it and shut the game down. See you tomorrow, buddy. But hopefully one of these saves can get you back into Football Manager. If you want to watch me rate people's best ever saves, that video's up there for you. I'll see you guys on stream. Have a great day. Legitimately, I demand it of you. Have a great day. I don't even know if legitimately worked there, but legitimately.